Hey everyone, Alex with AMTuned. I want to make a little short video for people with questions about connecting rods, pistons, how they want to lay out their build, where they want to go, how they want to spend their money, and products we offer here. So we're going to go over connecting rods, pistons, pins, bolts. We're going to weigh everything for you. Start off with the connecting rods. Here is the factory 4.2 liter BHF 40 valve connecting rod. Comes in the B6 and B7 S4s. And unlike their 32 valve, some of their 32 valve counterparts in the 4.2 liters, these are not forged. So these are powdered metal. We have seen through history that we can double or almost double the horsepower on them safely. What we've seen is they tend to let go right around there. When they want to snap, they'll make a nice little hole in your block. You can see that they have a tapered small end. And that's to mate with the factory piston. All of these have no bearings, no bolts, so we can get the true weights on them. Start off with the factory one. And the factory one's not doweled, so the big ends don't stay together. And we have 478.8 grams. Factory BHF connecting rod. Now, let's move to our H-beam aftermarket connecting rods. These are forged, 4340. They are tapered on the small end to mate with the factory piston. Here's a side-by-side of a factory connecting rod and our aftermarket H-beams. You can tell that dimensionally they are much larger, much stronger. There are some counterfeits running around, people claiming to sell the exact same ones. Easy giveaway is the logo. It is laser etched on there. It's not going to wash off. It's not going to rub off. I've had 2 different customers already claim that they bought it from somebody else and the logo has washed off. And unfortunately, that is not the case. Another giveaway is you'll see in how the connecting rod is actually made. So the lower end ones will not be dimensionally sound. And what I mean by this is when you look at the exterior, you're going to see imperfections on them. They're going to go in and out, and then especially down here on the turnouts, they usually go in and then go out on the lower end ones. Whereas you see ours are just, they're beautiful. That's all I can say about them. We rate these guys right here to 600 wheel horsepower with factory pistons. And we feel that's conservative, especially for the connecting rod. The main area of question is the actual pistons. Where they would hold. We don't know what would give away first, if it is the pin or the pin supports in the piston or something else possibly. Let's weigh these guys. 530 grams even for H-beam. Next we're gonna go, let me backtrack a little bit. Let's put this guy back together, the factory one. Okay, if you see here, if you line up our H-beams over a factory one, you can see they're identical. We have the same height, center to center, as the factory ones, to mate with the factory pistons. So nothing changes. Compression will not change unless you use different gaskets. On our I-beams, same material as our H-beams. You could tell that they are pretty meaty. So whereas the H-beams have these cutouts here for a little bit of weight reduction, the I-beams do not. So they are going to hold quite a bit of power. Another thing, logo will not wash off. We're going to stack them over each other. So compared to a stock length, you're going to see they're shorter. They are not meant to mate with the factory pistons. If you do mate them with the factory piston, you're going to have some very low compression and have a hard time making some power. You can see they're also not tapered. We changed the oiling on them for the pin. Comes from up above. Let's weigh this guy. 560 grams on the dot. What we don't have pictured here are another option we offer, which is Podder. They're X-beams. Phenomenal product. We run them in our shop car. As of yet, we don't see a need for them in the 4.2s. They are made to hold quite a bit of power, give or take 200 wheel horsepower or more, 250 per rod. Whereas if you divide that up by the number of cylinders we have, that's beyond any sort of number anybody's going to make anytime soon here. So we're very confident in our I-beams paired with aftermarket pistons to make some serious power in our H-beams with factory pistons. Let's go to the pistons here. So you will see that the design is similar. It's very similar. Some changes are the valve reliefs. So this is for the center intake valve. And then this is the main dish. Main differences are difference in the overall dimensions. So the width of them, if you were going to say that. On the factory ones, you can see that they're a bit smaller than ours. So ours, we also made them to work with aftermarket SuperTech valves, which are 1 millimeter larger. That way there's no interference. Second visible thing is the compression height right off the bat. Our aftermarket pistons are a bit taller. And that's where it comes in to use the shorter connecting rods that we use. And we'll explain why. So on the factory piston, this is what's called a interference pin. You can see the pin right here. It interferes with the oil ring. It's not really an issue, but I'll tell you why we didn't want to do that. And with that, on the interference pin, you have to either A, run a oil support ring, which you can't do on the factory piston because the ringland is not big enough. So there's nobody makes something that small, and if they did, it would be tiny. So I'm not sure it would really work. I have seen some people sell to other people online traditional oil rings, 3-piece oil rings, which I hate to say it is going to destroy their engine. So something to watch out for, and I'll show you why. A traditional oil ring, a 3-piece oil ring, which we use on our aftermarket ones, but not here, has a top ring, the center oiler, and the bottom ring. Issue on these is the bottom ring is going to eventually spin around. It's going to kiss the opening of the interference pin area. And then when this piston is on its upstroke, it's eventually going to push that ring down. And then slowly but surely, and you can look this up, there's many places online, you have to dig a little bit, but you'll find out, that ring is going to start unraveling down into the bore. And it's going to cause all sorts of chaos and havoc, and your engine is going to be just done, which is unfortunate. So we do sell an aftermarket piston ring combo, and it comes with the spring-loaded oil ring that's necessary on these. Let's weigh this guy. I'll turn this guy back on. 307.7 grams. Stock piston, got a little bit of carbon on it. Maybe it'll offset the wear. No pin, no rings. Here is our JE option aftermarket piston. So third difference you'll see, we do not have a interference pin at all. So we can use a traditional oil ring, 3-piece. We also have oil jet holes to help oil the bores. And our piston packages, they will work with the factory alusil block material and also sleeved engines. We recommend going sleeved, of course. That way you can get your bores completely true. These are made to withstand over 200 horsepower per piston. So I don't feel that we are going to find the limits of these anytime soon. How we lower compression on these, a lot of people ask, is we don't really change the compression height. We change it a little bit so that way you can deck the block and not worry about it. But a big difference in how we change the compression is, you see that relief on the factory piston, how shallow it is? Take a look at ours. Much difference. So it's going to add in more area in a combustion chamber, thus reducing compression. We thought Audi did a good job with how they designed it, so why change something that works? Let's weigh this guy. 327.9 grams. Our aftermarket JE piston option. Let's go to the pins. This is a factory BHF 20mm pin. Comes with the stock pistons. I have no idea how much power they'll hold. Have not had any failures yet in the few builds that are running 600 wheel horsepower. Weight on this guy, 75.2 grams. On all our piston packages now, we only offer them with upgraded pins. These are JE's 93 series pins. There are other series, I only rate them for about 100, 125 horsepower per pin. Not something we really want to throw in engines because a lot of people, it's hard to hold back when you spend a lot of money. These are rated for well over 200 to 300 horsepower per pin. If you actually do a little bit of digging and you call the company that actually makes these guys, which is not JE, it's an aftermarket company, they'll tell you they're rated for 350 horsepower per pin, which is quite a bit of power. And of course, they're a bit heavier, 109.5 grams. And then we go to the assembly components. So on our in-house H-beam connecting rods, we use in-house bolts. Anything above that, so our I-beams or Potter rods, we use ARP hardware. It's a touch harder than our in-house bolts, but we feel that the added safety, especially when people are trying to break records on stuff, is just something you want there. So this goes over a little bit of connecting rods, piston stuff, technology, how we built them, pins, weights and stuff. Let us know if you have any questions.